The United States and Iran are exchanging threats, tankers are being seized and disabled in the Gulf of Oman, oil prices are climbing, and global markets are watching nervously as Washington pushes for a deal to end its war on Iran. Here's a full roundup of the latest developments. U.S. President Donald Trump says he expects Iran's response to Washington's latest ceasefire and negotiation proposal by tonight. Speaking outside the White House, Trump said the U.S. was waiting for a formal reply from Tehran as talks over a longer-term agreement continue behind the scenes. But even as diplomacy remains on the table, the military confrontation in the Gulf appears to be escalating. Trump warned that if a deal is not finalized, Washington could intensify its military posture in the Strait of Hormuz and potentially revive parts of the previously paused Project Freedom operation. That comes as the U.S. military confirmed fresh naval confrontations in the Gulf of Oman. According to U.S. Central Command, American forces disabled 2 Iranian-flagged oil tankers attempting to enter Iranian ports. CENTCOM says it has now redirected 57 commercial vessels and disabled 3 ships as part of its blockade operations around Iran's ports. Iran, meanwhile, says its Revolutionary Guard carried out a special operation of its own, seizing an oil tanker called the Ocean Koi in the Gulf of Oman. Iranian state media released footage showing armed forces boarding the vessel, which Tehran accused of disrupting Iranian oil exports. The incidents came just hours after the U.S. and Iran reportedly exchanged fire in the Strait of Hormuz itself, raising fears that the fragile pause in fighting could collapse. Trump claimed Iran targeted 3 U.S. Navy destroyers in the strait, although he later downplayed the exchange, calling it a love tap. Iran's military, however, accused the U.S. of violating the ceasefire first by targeting an Iranian oil tanker and another vessel. Tehran says at least 10 sailors were wounded and 5 remain missing. Iran also claims the U.S. carried out airstrikes on civilian areas on Qasem Island, a strategic location near the entrance to the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says it responded by targeting U.S. military vessels east of the strait and near the port of Chabahar. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi accused Washington of repeatedly choosing military escalation over diplomacy, and Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Esmail Baghaei mocked Trump's recent nuclear threat after the U.S. president warned that if the ceasefire failed, the world could see one big glow coming out of Iran. Baghaei called the statement a grotesque absurdity and referenced Stanley Kubrick's Cold War satire Dr. Strangelove in a social media post criticizing Washington's rhetoric. At the United Nations, Iran's ambassador warned that U.S. actions in the Gulf risk a catastrophic regional escalation and accused Washington of violating international law. Tehran is also signaling a major shift in how it plans to control shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. According to Iranian officials and regional reporting, Tehran is moving towards what it calls a new maritime regime under a proposed Persian Gulf Strait Authority. Under the new framework, ships passing through Hormuz would reportedly need prior coordination and clearance from Iranian authorities, including details about cargo, destination, and origin. The Strait of Hormuz handles roughly a fifth of the world's oil supply, meaning any disruption there immediately sends shockwaves through global energy markets. And markets are already reacting. Brent crude settled above $101 a barrel, while U.S. crude closed above $95. Analysts say investors are caught between 2 possibilities, either a diplomatic breakthrough or a rapid return to wider fighting in the Gulf. The conflict is also beginning to affect global food prices. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization says its food price index rose to the highest level since 2023 in April, partly due to rising oil and fertilizer costs linked to the Middle East conflict. The FAO warns that higher fertilizer prices could reduce wheat production globally and place further pressure on already fragile food supply chains. Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts are continuing behind closed doors. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance met Qatar's Prime Minister in Washington to discuss mediation efforts, including Pakistan-backed initiatives aimed at reducing tensions between Tehran and Washington. Iran says it is still reviewing the latest American proposal and insists it remains ready to respond to any further military action. For now, the region remains on edge, with diplomacy and confrontation unfolding side by side in one of the world's most strategically important waterways.